What's going on, guys? So we just got the March 2021 ban list, and it is time to update some deck profiles. Today I want to do a update on my TRAPTRIX deck. This is one of my favorite archetypes of all time. It's the deck I play the most, more than any other deck. It's the deck where if I want to try to win my locals and play competitively, I actually choose to play this deck over even some of my more meta options because I think this deck is super underrated, super powerful. Been playing the deck since 2014, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go through a deck profile today showing my main and extra deck. And I will also give budget options at the end of the deck profile because there are some expensive cards in this list, and I know not everyone has them readily available. So yeah, I'll provide budget options as well. So yes, let's get into the TRAPTRIX list. So starting off, 3 Mermelio. Obviously just the best starter for the deck. You want to open this as often as possible, so we will maximize it at 3. And then there is 3 TRAPTRIX Mantis. This is another very good starter because it adds a TRAPTRIX monster from your deck to your hand. So usually you're going to add Dionaya, but you can add either Mantis or the Mermelio as well. And then lastly is the 3 Dionaya. This is mostly the follow-up play. But she also has a very good effect when she's special summoned to reset trap holes. So you get to recycle some of your used resources and keep the interrupts flowing. So I'm playing Standard 9. Standard 9 is generally just like the best. It's what you see in most lists because it really is that good. You can play a 10th in TRAPTRIX if you want to go the Torrential Tribute route, which is very good. I haven't actually decided if I want to go that route this format because we're not 100% sure what the meta decks are. But we think Dragon Link's going to be really good. Zoo Eldritch is going to be really good. Invoke Dog. Virtual World is going to have a change into more hand loop stuff, and that's going to be very good probably. It seems like Drytron was most affected by the list, but Torrential could be good in a meta like that. So if you want to play an TRAPTRIX and Torrentials or Needle Ceilings, that is also a viable list, but I just want to play Standard 9. This is Dogmatica TRAPTRIX, and I know some lists for Dogmatica TRAPTRIX play a smaller package. I have played 8 Dionaya before. However, I am choosing to maximize at 9 because the hands where you see a TRAPTRIX monster and the hands where you don't see a TRAPTRIX monster are so astronomically different in power levels. Like when you see a TRAPTRIX monster and like a decent hand, it's very hard to lose, and then when you don't, it's very hard to win. So want to maximize at 9, and we even play consistency cards to make sure that we see them more often than just 9 and 42 because it is a 42 card list. Now some extenders. These are very important cards in the TRAPTRIX engine. It is 3 Parallel Exceed. One of the most important because you just summon it when you make Sarah with any of your TRAPTRIX monsters. Parallel Exceeds with Link 1 base decks are very, very powerful. And then you also can make Rafflesia, and TRAPTRIX Sarah with Rafflesia on the field is just a super good board because it's very hard to kill the Sarah, and she's just going to snowball into crazy amounts of advantage. And 3 Shade Brigandine. These cards both accomplish the same thing essentially. They work with Sarah to make a rank 4. Brigandine does it better though because it's a trap card being activated. So Sarah gets to set a trap as well as the rank 4. Very, very good. And this helps you just get your snowball a turn early, which can just change the tide of a game really quick, and you can win turn 1 essentially when you open Brigandine. If you open both of these, the hand is absolutely bonkers. But yeah, if you just want to see one of these with your TRAPTRIX monsters because you're going to make a crazy board with Rafflesia, Redoer, Dweller, any of those with Sarah and back row, and it's very hard for your opponent to break that. You can end with 6 or 7 interrupts with snowball potential. So the 3 Brigandine and the 3 Parallel are the 6 extenders for the TRAPTRIX engine. Well, I guess there are more extenders because there's also the Dogmatica package. This is such a good package for TRAPTRIX, excuse me, because you have a Link 1, so for the same reason as Parallel Exceed, where it's just very easy to summon, having a Link 1 extra deck monster means you can summon your Ecclesias easier, have access to Nadir and make it better, and I choose to play 2 Ecclesia and 1 Fleur-de-Lis. Some people have cut the Fleur-de-Lis in this list altogether, but I think it's just really, really good. Yeah, this engine solves every problem the TRAPTRIX deck has. You can play TRAPTRIX without Dogmatica, but again, this engine fills all the gaps. So the deck has a problem with beat sticks. It needs a way to deal damage very quickly, and it's always lacked that as a deck in more of a control strategy. Fleur-de-Lis, she gives you a lot of damage. Like, you can do crazy OTKs with the Dogmatica package. And in a simplified game state that TRAPTRIX can tend to create for your opponent, 3000 just as a vanilla is super, super strong. This also, Ecclesia gets you a normal trap in the form of punishment. So that solves the issue of like seeing Sarah without normal trap cards. It gives you a searchable normal trap. She's a level 4 extender, and you don't even have to use her effect, and then you can just make a rank 4 if it comes to that. So yeah, this fills a lot of the gaps, and it's just a very strong engine to pair along with TRAPTRIX. So next up, some hand traps. We have 3 Ash Blossom, very standard. She's looking to be an absolute star this format for what is presumed to be the meta. And yeah, 3 Ash Blossom is very, very standard. And then 3 Infinite Impermanence. I think Imperm's going to be back on top. Like, Imperm kind of fell out of the meta last format, but I still played it in TRAPTRIX because it's a normal trap, so it kind of doubles up with being good with Sarah, as well as being a hand trap. Dragoon can be kind of annoying for this deck, so this can stop like Verte Anaconda, and then Ash can stop the Red Eyes Fusion, so you can stop them both ways. Only 6 hand traps in the deck, because we're not going to count Fleur-de-Lis, because if you go second, it has like no use as a hand trap, but the Dogmatica is also a very good go second package. I'm running a lot of go second cards for a TRAPTRIX list. In the form of these 6 hand traps, the Dogmatica package, which is 6 cards, and a couple of other cards. So this deck actually has a much stronger go second than people sort of like theorize the deck does, but only 6 hand traps means something like Dragon Link can end up being an issue. So if you want to up the hand traps, that's fine, but essentially you do want to go first game 1, and then you can adjust for going second game 2 and 3. But I think these are going to be the best hand traps for this deck to play, because again, Imperm doubles up as a trap card as well. On to spells, we have 3 Pot of Prosperity. This card is absolutely insane in this deck. I've said this in my last deck profile. I think this card helps TRAPTRIX more than any other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because your entire deck is 2 card combos. So you have, you know, any TRAPTRIX monster with Brigandine or Parallel, and Prosperity can help you just see combinations of these very, very easily. Should have grabbed Mermelio here because Mermelio is much better to open than Dionaya. So like, say you open your Mermelio, you can Prosperity to see either one of these, and then your board is insane. Say you see either one of these or both of these and no TRAPTRIX monsters, you can search for this with Prosperity, and it just brings the consistency of the deck to like a whole other level. And yeah, like, there was always a problem of not seeing your TRAPTRIX monster, so you wanted to play more, but when you play a bunch of TRAPTRIX monsters, like, it turns out you draw too many, and it's very rough for the deck. But this is a card that lets you essentially run 12 TRAPTRIX monsters in theory, but can also be other cards. So Prosperity is just an amazing card in this deck, and definitely a mandatory 3 of. But it is a card I will get budget options because obviously it is quite expensive right now. Then we have 3 Nadir Servant. If you're playing Dogmatica, you're maximizing on this. Just an absolutely phenomenal go second card. Can break boards on its own, or at least bait negates. It's arguably up there with Brigandine as the best extender for the deck. If I had to order what extenders are the best to pair with TRAPTRIX Sarah, it would go Brigandine number 1, Nadir Servant number 2, Parallel Exceed number 3. But they're all so good, and you can open any combination of those with the TRAPTRIX monster to see absolutely amazing end boards and just super, super strong and very hard to break. And Nadir Servant, just a great consistency card, because if you do happen to not see a TRAPTRIX monster, Nadir Servant can get you into your Dogmatica package, which can lead to at least Dogmatica and some traps in a bad hand. And Nadir is just mandatory 3 of, very, very powerful. Then I am rocking 2 Triple Tactics Talent. Dragoon is going to be a powerhouse this meta. It's undeniable. VFD went away. Zexal went away. The next big threat on the list is Dragoon, and Tactics is just one of the best outs to Dragoon. If they try to negate anything, you just take him, and honestly, if you steal Dragoon with Tactics, it's usually game. But you have a bunch of extenders and TRAPTRIX Sarah that give your opponent opportunities to hand trap you, and then you can draw free cards. Or if you've used Prosperity or you don't want to draw cards, you can look at your opponent's hand and steal the best starter in their hand or the best card in general. Tactics, just an amazing card. But over the 3rd Tactics, because 3 Tactics can kind of brick, we play a Called by the Grave, one of the most versatile cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't go wrong with this card. It is phenomenal. And then Double or Nothing. This is honestly the reason we play a 42 card list, because drawing this card kind of stinks, to say the least, but we do run ways to put it back in the deck if you draw it, because we are playing the Dogmatica package, so that's very nice. And yeah, it's your best win condition. Honestly, the best card in the deck over any other card besides like your TRAPTRIX monsters. This is the best card in the deck. It's the one you have to play because it is just the best way to win. And that's it for spells. Now it's time for traps. And when I show the traps, you will be surprised how little traps are in the deck for a trap deck. Obviously, there's 3 Brigandine and 3 Parallel I showed earlier, but it's really hard to consider those like traps almost. Because they're not like super high impact traps. But starting with trap holes, 1 Floodgate, arguably the most generic best one. 1 Gravedigger, I think this one's the best one. It's just so good, and when it burns 2k damage, it can push you closer to game, and it is much easier to win after you've Gravediggered once or twice. And I think it's the best one, but Floodgate's generically the best, so. 1 Time Space, I like playing this because it hits things that Floodgate doesn't. Like, say your opponent is summoning subpar monsters you wouldn't normally Floodgate, and then suddenly Verte Anaconda's on the field. Well, Floodgate's not going to do anything, so you can have Time Space to negate stuff like that, and when your zoo mirror, or not mirror match, when your zoo matchup is making zoo monsters, you can just Time Space them back because that gets rid of, like, a lot of them. Floodgate does too, but there's just some things Time Space hits that Floodgate doesn't. And then lastly, 1 TRAPTRIX Trap Hole Nightmare. So this trap hole lineup I'm a little sketchy on because it is the start of the new format. We don't exactly know what is the best decks. We can only sort of assume what is. These 3 I know I've played in the past, but this Trap Hole Nightmare could end up being like a second Floodgate or a second Gravedigger. I was playing 2 Gravedigger last format because Drytron was in the meta. I think they're going to fall out of favor to Lightning Overdrive. Virtual World's still good, but not the threat it once was, and this is much better against Dinosaur than this is, so if Dinosaur is like a big threat, I could add another one of this, but like against Invoke Dog is a matchup I'm sort of scared of when we play too many Gravedigger, because this is like pretty good against Mechaba, because these do nothing against Mechaba because of Meltdown. You can't activate them on Summon, but Nightmare you can like activate any card that would bait Mechaba, they activate, and you can just negate its effect and destroy it. So, and this is also good with Alamera, so I'm trying this right now, but this TRAPTRIX Trap Hole Nightmare could end up being a second Gravedigger or a second Floodgate, depending on how the meta goes. So do with that what you will. Next, 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. This is probably going to be one of the best traps in the meta again. It just hits every deck that is going to be good. Like Zoo Eldritch, it destroys Eldritch in general. Dragon Link is very good against. Invoke Dog, it's pretty good against because you can steal the Alistair. Just an amazing card, an amazing form of interaction. It's essentially a 2-for-1 because you steal 2 resources. And it's a normal trap card, so you get to take Sarah advantages with it. And then 2 Punishments. So Punishment, just one of the best trap cards to come out in a long time. It's searchable. It's a searchable normal trap. Very high impact. Gotta play at least 2. Some people play 3. I think that's too much, but yep. That is the main deck. Some budget options for the very expensive stuff. Let me go ahead and do that. So Ice Dragon's Prison, you can play like Lost Winds, Dino-Miscus, Torrentials, Needle Ceilings. Pretty easy one to solve for that. The tactics, you can play Dark Ruler No More, you can run Nibiru, any good go second card. The advantage of tactics is that it's good going first or second. Not every card can fill that role, but Nibiru or like DD Crows even double summon, it's more gas instead of like answer to your opponent's board, but you can make crazy boards with double summon, so that's very good. But I'll give double summon as a budget option for a different card, but any hand trap or Dark Ruler No More is decent. For tactics, for Nadirs, if you're taking out the entire Dogmatica package, yes, I would play double summons. I would maybe play additional extenders the deck can run, or just a lot more traps. So 6 cards you can run, like you could take out the Dogmatica package and then play Atrax with like 2 Torrentials, 3 Needle Ceilings, something like that. And then Pot of Prosperity. This is a tough one because there's really no card that's going to do what this card does. This is a 42 card list, so you could just take 2 of these out and then make this an Upstart Goblin. That's not good because it means double will have a harder time OTKing, but yeah, there are options. Like you could just play Extravagance in some lists, not this one. It's very hard to replace Prosperity, but hopefully I gave some decent budget options because the spell lineup for this deck is a little ridiculous and you need to replace these for more budget options if you don't have these readily available. But if you do, I think they're very good cards and definitely worth running. So on to extra deck. 2 Sarah. You don't have the space for 3, otherwise you would play 3, but there's just no space, to be honest. The extra deck's very tight and you're banishing 3 to 6 for Prosperity, so Yeah, but Sarah, she is the reason the deck exists. She's too important. She does all your snowball into your OTKs and just boards that are too far ahead for your opponent to come back from. She is the reason the deck exists, and I thank Konami for making her every day. I really don't, but it felt like a nice thing to say. One Link Spider, this is for your Brigandine. It comes up every now and then that you need to proc your Parallel Exceed if you just draw Brigandine and him, so the Link Spider is there for those situations. One Pentastag because of your Utopia double. You want to be able to Pentastag over monsters you floodgated for game. One Unicorn. This is actually my Boral Sword spot, but I don't have a Boral Sword apparently. I don't know what happened to mine, but this should be a Boral Sword, but Unicorn's pretty cool too. I think I just moved my mat, which is very bad, but there's not many more cards to go, so it should be fine. One Rafflesia. You're going to go into this more often than anything else. It's so good with the TRAPTRIX stuff because it protects them and you run multiple floodgates or multiple trap holes, so it's better in this deck than other decks, most obviously. One Alamaris, she comes up in random situations where she can be an extender and push for game a lot easier, as well as steal your opponent's cards, like with Ice Dragon's Prison, Dogmatica Punishment, or TRAPTRIX Trap Hole Nightmare, or even Natisse popping off a Nadir Servant. You can proc Alamaris to steal your opponent's monsters, and that's very, very good. One Dweller. I'm actually going to move the TRAPTRIX rank 4s. One Dweller. This is an all-star. If you're playing a rank 4 deck, you have to be playing Dweller. It just shuts down most of the meta and is honestly can just be game on its own. And then one Redoer. You're playing Brigandine in the main deck, which makes Redoer an absolute powerhouse. Honestly, such a raid boss. I make him more often than any other rank 4 besides Rafflesia because he is so good at just everything. Definitely a mandatory run because, yeah, just Brigandine makes him super good. Then we play one double and one Utopia. Yeah, this is just your main win condition, and you're going to make it so often. And it's pretty cool because, like, you can use your trap holes and interrupts to stop your opponent's monsters, and Remelio to kind of clear back row, and it makes it a little easier to make this and push board states for game. And then you have Gravedigger to stop any hand trap that would stop your double combo. So it's a pretty good Utopia double deck, and yeah, it's just your main win condition. Then on to the Dogmatica package, we have one Ferragite. This is how you put your double or nothing back if you draw it. So you can Nadir Servant Ferragite, search Ecclesia, draw a card, and then put double or nothing to the bottom of your deck. Very, very powerful. It's something you have to play when double or nothing's your main win condition, and it's just a super good target. Then two Natisse and a Titaniclad, the more standard Dogmatica stuff. You're playing this in like every Dogmatica list. Natisse is the best Dogmatica card after all, and it's just a lot of outs and searching, so very good. That was the TRAPTRIX deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any opinions or thoughts on the list on how it could be improved or what you'd want to play, or maybe even more budget options for people down in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be sure to read them. And yeah, this was Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.